Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me on this journey as I walk you through my coaching practice. My name is Julia Caldwell, and I'm the founder of Live So Brightly. And I'm going to just jump right in. I'm going to start sharing my screen with you. So, Live So Brightly is my coaching practice. I offer a couple of different packages, and my ultimate goal is to help you step into your divine truth. And what I mean by that is, I want you to get to the essence of who you are, what you're meant to do, what your purpose is on this planet, and then feel empowered to step into that life and to manifest all of what that life is to bring out for you and whatever it is that you desire. And that is what my goal is with Live So Brightly. And who am I? So I am a certified yoga instructor. I'm a meditation teacher, an emotional freedom technique coach. If you don't know what emotional freedom technique is, it's also known as tapping. It's a really great way to relieve anxiety and a lot of emotional and mental blocks around different parts of your life. I'm also a certified Spirit Junkie Masterclass graduate. That's one of Gabby Bernstein's programs. I am a tarot and oracle card reader, and I'm also the CEO of 3 businesses. Live So Brightly, my coaching business, Gemstones and Jewels, which is where I make spiritually tailored malas and other spiritual accessories such as organ pyramids, palm stones, pendants, earrings, rings, and all sorts of fun things. And then, of course, I have Evolved Summit as well, which is a new business. It's a new venture of mine. It's an events-based business where I will be creating various virtual and hopefully eventually in-person events through Evolved Summit that are all going to be spiritually based. We're actually launching in 2021 on January 9th and 10th. We have our very first summit. It's going to be for women only, and it's an event that's going to cover spirituality, nutrition, finances, and goddess empowerment, which is going to be super fun. So if you're interested in that, definitely let me know. But that is a rundown of who I am. And this is a rundown of who I used to be. This Julia was from about 3 to 5 years ago, and she was really run down, really depressed, abusing drugs and alcohol as a way to self-medicate, ultimately not wanting to live anymore, putting on fake smiles for people to make them make it seem like I was doing well, and ultimately just not living on purpose or my best life in any way. I was feeling useless, like garbage and a waste of time and everybody's in space. I didn't feel like I was of service to anybody. I didn't feel like anybody got any value out of spending time with me. I ultimately just felt like trash. I was hopeless, stressed, angry, and couldn't figure out how to get out of this dark hole. I was extremely depressed. I wanted to commit suicide at one point, and that actually scared me out of this hole. That's what helped to get me out of it. But I never want anybody to have to get to that place, that spot where I was, where all you have are taking your own life or going and getting admitted to a hospital. I don't want that to ever be somebody's only 2 choices. And those were the only 2 choices I felt that I had. And I felt like a failure. I was 27 years old and massive amounts of debt. I hated my job. I was waiting tables, and I couldn't figure out how to actually, I wasn't waiting tables at 27. I had just got done waiting tables, and I still hated that job, but I was working for a tech company and I was miserable at that as well. And I couldn't figure out why I was feeling just so alone, so miserable. I felt I had failed at acting, which was my one dream. I had gone to New York City to pursue acting, and I just wasn't able to hack it. So I just had all this the sense of failure and doubt and a lot of self-hatred because I couldn't figure out why everybody else seemed to make their lives work except I couldn't. Why couldn't I hold on to my paychecks for longer than 2 weeks? Why couldn't I pay off this massive amount of debt? Why couldn't I find a job that I really enjoyed? And why couldn't I feel like I was being successful in my life? And as I mentioned before, to cope with all of this, I was self-medicating with drugs and alcohol. There are so many other ways that people self-medicate: overspending, overeating, going to the gym an excessive amount, being excessively lazy. There are so many different ways that people self-medicate, and my choice through this time was self-medicating with drugs and alcohol. But I got to a point where I was bound and determined to dig my way out of this rut. And that was when I realized that not only could I not end my own life, I didn't want to end my own life. I wanted to find a way out. I needed to find a way out. And so for the first time in years, I prayed every night for weeks, hoping one day I would come across a miracle. And I prayed to get sick so I would stop drinking and stop smoking. I prayed to just have that need eliminated from my life. I prayed that I could have, a month off of work to be able to get myself squared away and go, get the help that I knew that I needed. I was praying for anything and everything you could possibly think of. And I was about to give up hope when I suddenly got my miracle. And that miracle came in two different phases. The first phase was the morning after I decided that I wasn't going to take my own life, I couldn't take my own life, that I wanted to live, I called around to every single doctor's office in the Northern Virginia area. And one of them just happened to have an opening the very next day. And it was a cancellation that they hadn't filled yet. And they could tell based off of my demeanor and the tone of my voice that I needed to be seen. And I was fortunate enough, it was an hour and a half away from my home. I was fortunate enough that my mom let me borrow a car so I could get to this appointment in time. And I went to this appointment, and I was fortunate enough to have somebody who listened to me and who held space for me and really got me on medication that would eventually help me get to where I am today. And then the second miracle that happened is about 3 months after I was on that medication. I woke up one morning, and after drinking all night long and smoking a pack and a half of cigarettes in a night, and then driving home about 45 minutes, I woke up that morning with zero desire to drink, zero desire to smoke, zero desire to do any other drugs. And I, that day, started listening to Gabby Bernstein, Lewis Howes, Marianne Williamson, Tony Robbins, and all these other amazing thought leaders. I started listening to Oprah Soul Conversations, and ultimately was able to, through these different venues, I built out a spiritual practice that saved my life. So this is me now. This picture up top is me celebrating 30 days without drugs or alcohol. This picture down here is about 10 months into my recovery. This picture here is me kicking ass at a sober kickboxing class. I was over a year sober at this point. I was over a year sober here. And this photo, I was about a year and a half sober. So super grateful, super happy. As you can tell, I have life back. I have a life again. Like you can see that in these photos. I am lively. I'm enjoying my life. I'm loving my life. I'm having fun. I'm exploring different options, and I'm living in my purpose. And you can really see the difference in these photos, I think. And that's why I wanted to share them with you today. So I was dedicated, bound, and determined to make this change last in my life. I knew that every other avenue I had gone down was not working, and I needed to make this change last. So I started building up a spiritual practice to keep me motivated, to keep me driving forward. And I devoted my time to meditating daily, journaling, and praying. I worked on gratitude and affirmations on a regular basis. And I spent hours for months on end working to rewire my brain so that I could finally love myself for the first time in my life. And that was a lot of just catching myself whenever I was angry at myself or mean to myself and rewording what I was saying to myself. And I was reading so many books on self-help and just taking everything in that I possibly could to make myself better for myself, because I knew deep down that I needed to be better for myself in order to be better for those around me and those that I loved. So I could not, oh, let me go back. My computer's being a little fritzy. I could not do this without my friends and my family supporting me, without my spiritual practice, and without keeping to a very rigorous schedule, and also without having gratitude for those who have helped me along the way, and having gratitude for my life, and just overall, being guided. And that's what this slide represents, is I needed all of these different things in place in order to keep my life moving forward. And I want to let you know that this transformation is available for you too. And I'm going to share with you 3 steps, and each step has a couple of sub-steps. So and the very first step is to get connected to source. And the way that you can do that is through prayer, through meditation, building a ritual, and to begin a gratitude and affirmations practice. So these are just images that I found that I love that really relate. So meditation is huge for me. It's something that I do on a daily basis. It keeps me grounded, it keeps me focused, and it keeps me in remembrance of why I'm here and what my purpose is. Gratitude, there's a famous person whose name I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's a famous quote that if you say 10 things that you're grateful for every day, there will not be anything for you to be depressed about. And I truly believe that. Starting my day off with gratitude every single day helped change the way that I looked at my life, and let me see how much I truly had, how much abundance I really had, and how much I had to be grateful for. And it helped eradicate my depression. Building a ritual, I found that doing the same things every day, keeping to a very strict regimen with my spiritual practice, helped me to grow and deepen that spiritual practice. And what so many people don't realize is when you have those things that you do every single day, the more you put practice in, the more work you end up getting out of it, and the more transformation you get out of it when you have something that's really set. And then of course prayer. I believe this is something that Gabby Bernstein says, or maybe it's Marianne Williamson, but they say that meditation is listening, prayer is asking. So when you pray, it's always, affirming statements, affirming prayers. And I've learned that through my membership at the Unity Church, Unity Worldwide Ministries. And you really want to affirm your prayers and say, Lord, may I, and then fill in the blank. And it's really, really important to have those kinds of practices. So one of my favorite prayers actually is the prayer of St. Francis. And this is one that I like to say when I'm having just a really rough day, or I'm feeling very beaten down. And that's, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me bring love. Where there is offense, let me bring pardon. Where there is discord, let me bring union. Where there is error, let me bring truth. Where there is doubt, let me bring faith. Where there is despair, let me bring hope. Where there is darkness, let me bring your light. Where there is sadness, let me bring joy. O Master, let me not seek as much to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that one receives, it is in self-forgetting that one finds, it is in pardoning that one is pardoned, it is in dying that one is raised to eternal life. And this prayer, if you haven't noticed, really is the core value of my coaching practice, and what I truly want to be able to do for each and every one of my clients is this prayer. And that's why I just love it so much. Meditation. So there's tons of meditations that you can do. My favorite are Satnam, which is a very simple Kundalini meditation. You sit with your arms about a 45-degree angle and you just chant Sat Nam, Sat Nam, and bring your fingers to each finger to your thumb point as you go through and chanting Sat Nam. My next favorite, this is my all-time favorite, is the Siri Gatri mantra, or Ramadasa Sase Sohang. It's another Kundalini meditation. It is the ultimate healing meditation, and I teach this to my clients religiously. It is the one that saved my life. I have it tattooed on my arm. It is my soul's meditation. Ekankar, Satguru Prasad Ekankar is another really beautiful, loving, warm meditation. It's all about connecting to spirit. It's really a wonderful meditation. I highly suggest that you look it up and just listen to it. Even if you don't know the words, just listen to it and let it wash over you. Then a couple of other ways that you can meditate other than Sanskrit chanting. You can count your breaths, and that's just as simple as when you inhale, you count 1. When you exhale, you count 2, and you do that all the way up to 10 and then repeat. And you can set a timer for yourself for about 5-10 minutes and let yourself do that. And then another is guided meditations. There are so many guided meditations on YouTube. There are apps like Calm or Headspace that help you build out that kind of practice. And with my coaching, you actually get guided meditations from me that I create specifically tailored for you. And guided meditations are really great because they help us get out of our head and just really focus on the words that are being said. Building a ritual. So like I said before, this was like the most important piece for me is I had to set time in my day for my spiritual practice. And I typically had time in the morning and time in the evening. And whatever you do with the rest of your day, this was the one piece that I did not let go to the wayside. It was the one thing I always did, whether that was meditating in commuter cars on my way to work, taking 10 minutes before I started work to meditate if I was waking up late, spending extra time in the evenings if I didn't get a chance to do my morning meditation. Like I was dedicated to keeping up a ritual, and I did the same things every single day. I chanted the same meditations. I said the same affirmations. My gratitude was the only thing that changed. The gratitude is the only thing that should change, is writing down what you're grateful for, but I wrote it down. I journaled. Once I started getting into tarot readings, I started doing tarot readings for myself. And I did those religiously. It was what I did every single time. And it just helped me get into that space of being connected and with source and knowing that this was a sacred space for me to have with my higher power. And then having a gratitudes and affirmations practice. So start each day with 10 things you were grateful for and make sure that they're different every single day, and start affirming with I am or may I statements for wherever it is that you want to be. Because when you start saying I am or may I, you start using the law of attraction and bringing those things in. And to take a step further, when you start noticing your negative thoughts, if you can turn those into positive I am or may I statements, you will rewire your brain into believing the positive and not the negative. Even if you don't truly believe it right now, your brain will start to believe it and your life will change. I tell you, I swear to God, it works. It's like magic. So step 2, rebuild your relationship with yourself. And this takes setting boundaries, learning to say no, not overwhelming yourself, and rewiring your brain, which I touched on a little bit, but I'll dive in a little bit more here on that. So again, just some images. Like I did not know what it was like to set up boundaries. I was, and still do this quite often. I've had to really get clear on what my values are so I don't put things into my schedule that I just don't care about. And that's not to be rude or to try to say that somebody else's something that they're doing doesn't matter to me. It's just that if I am not 110% on board. I cannot waste my precious time to overwhelm myself to work on something that I just really don't care that much about. And that doesn't mean I don't care or love about the other person, love the other person. I do, but my time would not be valuable to them. And so by recognizing my time is not valuable to them, I'm not only saving myself, but I'm saving them as well. And learning to say no was so hard for me. I'm always a yes person. I'm a people pleaser. That's all I wanted to do. But learning to say no and protecting yourself, excuse me, I need some water, is extremely important. So learn to set boundaries with the people around you. What are you willing and not willing to deal with? This will help you build a trusting relationship with yourself because with your boundaries, you know you will not get hurt as easily again. I let people walk all over me all of the time, and it sucked. I was letting men into my life I didn't need to let into my life. I was letting friends into my life that I didn't need to let into my life. And I was too afraid to set a boundary and say, no, you're using me way too much. I'm not getting any value out of this. And as soon as I started doing that and started setting those boundaries and saying, no, you're not going to walk over me, I started feeling so empowered and so on purpose. And one of the things that I help you with is figuring out what it is that your value system is. And I will help you build that out. And you'll get really, really crystal clear on how you can set up these boundaries. Learn to say no. How often do you find yourself saying yes to everyone about everything? How quickly do you find your responsibilities and commitments piling up? Learn to say no so you don't get stressed over things that don't matter to you. There's really nothing else I can say about this other than no should be the most important word or phrase coming out of your mouth other than I love myself. And I love myself because I say no. I can't say anything else about this. Like, it's so important to learn how to say no. And if you have a fear built up around that, I will help you release that fear because it is not serving you at all. Don't overwhelm yourself. Create a calendar of your day-to-day activities and stick to that. Give yourself a limit to how much extracurricular activities you can commit yourself to outside of your day-to-day responsibilities. You we fill up our days, and one really big response to having been traumatized is to busy yourself, is to make yourself so busy and so hectic that you overwhelm yourself. I have a story that, when I first moved to Dallas, Texas, back in January, I jumped in and joined on with our church, and I also signed up to do dog sitting, and I accidentally double booked myself one day, and I didn't realize it. And I had also been trying to drive Uber and doing all of these things, and I didn't have a set schedule. I had overwhelmed myself to a point where I had to leave my responsibility at the church early to go take care of this dog that I had. It was my first day taking care of this dog, and this poor dog was going to be locked in their house all day. So I just felt so awful. And after that, I said, I can only commit to filling in for people at the church. I cannot commit to a weekly or bi-weekly volunteer basis at the church. I can fill in for people where needed, but this is too much for me to commit to right now. And realizing that, it took a huge weight off of my shoulders because I was potentially giving up where, yes, volunteering is really wonderful and really great, but I was giving up a paid gig to volunteer, and I didn't have the time to make them both work. So I needed to take the paid gig because I was unemployed. I needed as much money as I could possibly get, and I had this commitment to walk this dog daily, and I was not holding myself to that by overcommitting myself to things. And finally, rewire your brain. So when you use your affirmations and your gratitude practice and a spiritual ritual to rewire your brain, you start to love and appreciate yourself again. And the way we do this is constantly redirecting those negative thoughts and always going back to the positive, always going back to the love. A Course in Miracles says love is all there is. So when we just think about that, and even if that's what you say, to yourself, love is all there is, love is all there is, love is all there is, you will start to see that love is truly all that there is. And finally, step 3, let go of your fears. How much are you afraid of? How much are your fears holding you back? And each of these pictures just makes me really think about all of the ways that my fear paralyzed me when I was going through my really difficult time. So, how do we let go of our fears? We start by recognizing what they are. We work to release them, and I have so many tools for you to release your fears, and some meditations that are really powerful that will help you release these things. And we also say a prayer, and that prayer is, please take these fears and I surrender them, and let me see the love and the light that is there in the universe. So my course offerings are for you if you will stop at nothing to overcome your current mindset and level up your life. You have or want to create a spiritual practice. You are not afraid to dive deep into your shadow self. This work is deep. It gets really, really deep. So if you are not afraid to be vulnerable, to get visceral, to dive into the deepest, darkest parts of yourself, then this course is absolutely for you. You want to cultivate a deep and loving relationship with yourself and your higher power, and also you are willing to invest 4 figures into transforming your life.
If this course sounds like the perfect opportunity for you, go on ahead and click the button below so you can get yourself registered for my free discovery call, where I will create a streamlined plan for you and your spiritual practice. If this course seems like a perfect fit, please do not hesitate to go on ahead and click that link below and register yourself for a call today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you so much. I'm so excited to work with you. Light and love. Namaste.